we need to talk a little bit, or maybe a lot, about some church, you could say trivia, but it's more important than that. So, let's talk about the church year. How many of you can tell me how many feasts there are, big feasts, in the church year? Anybody know? 7? There are 7, but there are more than that. Seraphim? There are 12 great feasts. And then there's one more. Who knows what the one more is? New Year's is a good guess, but no. Do you know what the one more is, Dimitri? That's okay. That's the icon for the one more. What's that the icon for? The resurrection, Pascha. Pascha is the feast of feasts. So because it's the big feast, we don't count it with all the rest. But I don't want to talk about Pascha today. I want to talk about the first feast of the church year, which we just did a few weeks ago. Does anybody know what is the first feast of the church year? And as a bonus, if you can point out the 2 places in the church where we have its icon, you win a blessing. What do you think? The Panagias, what of the Panagias? Good guess, but that's not till November. When she was brought into the temple is November. Who knows what is the first feast of the church year? You can guess this too. What do you think? When she died is the last feast of the church year, but that helps everybody else figure out. So if that's the last feast of the church year, the first feast of the church year would be when she was born. Thank you. Bravo, sir. So, anybody know what the 2 icons are? That's when she died, and on the other side, behind the chandelier, I can't see it, but in the choir loft there is the icon of when she was born. But there's another chance to... No, there's not. Never mind. There's only one icon of when she was born in the church. I forgot. Other churches up on the top row, sometimes they have the icon of the birth of Panagia to the far left, but we have the Evangelismo, the Annunciation. So, we begin the church year with the remembrance that Panagia, Jesus, his mama, was born. That's the start. We have to start the story with the birth of the important people in the story. And we can say, well, that's Jesus, but that's true. But who gave birth to Jesus? Well, the Virgin Mary. So we start there. Now, this is a beautiful story, because how old do you think Panagia's mommy and daddy were when she was born? What do you think? 35? A little older. What do you think, Vasily? 90. 90 is closer. Now, how old are Yaya and Papu? Not 90 yet, usually. Are they still having children? So it's unusual for older people to have a baby. And this was a miracle. This was the Lord gave grace to Panagia's mother, whose name was Anna, and to her father, whose name was Joachim. Right? Can you remember that? Joachim and Anna? I would say you hear this every church service we do, because we always remember them in the dismissal, but you're in Sunday school, so you don't hear it. But the last people that we remember every time we do the service are the grandparents of the Lord. The parents, the mother and father of the Virgin Mary, Joachim and Anna, who had waited all their lives trying to have children, and they didn't have any. And for the Jewish people of the time, if you didn't have children, you weren't worth anything. because your name wouldn't be remembered in Israel. Because you, if you didn't have children, couldn't be part of the genealogy of the Messiah, of the one who was promised. So Joachim and Anna were kind of laughed at. You know, they were like, oh, you know, Joachim and Anna, they're nice, but they never had any children, so they don't really matter. And then they had a little girl. And it was amazing. Everyone said, she's old. How can she be pregnant? And she had a little baby girl. And that baby girl was the one through whom the Messiah came. So how about that? Everybody made fun of them because they couldn't be part of the preparation for the Messiah. And then at the last minute, because they died only a few years later, at the last possible moment, they received that grace. Right? Now, there's some complicated stuff there, and we don't need to get into all of this. Your Sunday school teachers will talk about the story a little bit more, whether today or next week. We have a couple weeks more still to deal with this. But I want you to remember the important parts of the story. Part 1. We start the church year with the birth of Jesus' mother. Point 2. She was born to parents who were old. So that was a miracle. Point 3. Every Jewish family wanted to give birth to the woman who would be the mother of the Messiah. Everybody wanted this. For thousands of years, they had wanted this. This was why they wanted children, besides the fact that they're cute. They wanted to be part of the preparation for the Messiah. That's important. We need to remember that the Hebrew people had been waiting for a long, long time for Jesus to come. They were waiting, they were looking, they were hoping. And they kind of messed some things up because they were hoping so hard. But remember that. Jesus came, he was born of a mother who had been waited for a long time, both by her parents and by all her people. All right? So that's something about the feast. Does anybody know what the date is of it, by the way, before we finish? Nope, into September. Something is on August 27th, though. Do you know, Justin? No, that's tomorrow. Yes, today is the 4th. But the date of the feast of the birth of the Virgin Mary, another word for birth, by the way, is nativity. So our neighbor church up there in Plymouth, the Nativity of the Virgin Mary, that's their feast day, right? But the feast day for the Nativity of the Virgin Mary is September 8th. So, remember September 8th. Remember that it's the first feast of the church year. Remember that Panagia was born to old parents. Remember that she had been waited for a long time. And have a wonderful day. Go ahead and stand up. We will take communion together now.